What's up, everyone? I'm Redtail, and this is a bit of a different video as I didn't work this weekend. There's no drive home. However, what I did do was attend Knotfest on Friday. So it's been probably around half a week since I went there, and I've got to say, the first two Knotfests I went to were great. The first one better than 2024. Friday, I spent pretty much 10 hours in Nirvana. I ascended to the heavens, and it was one of the probably the greatest music event I've been to, not only just attending, but also if I was performing in it. I wasn't, obviously, because I'm not in a fucking metal band. But there are some interesting points for the day other than the bands, which I will be talking about. Wasn't there to watch all of them, but I was there to watch the ones I wanted to. And yeah, it was a really great day. It was really warm, super warm. Didn't mosh the entire day. I think I moshed for Vended. That's who I wanted to be in the mosh pit for, and I accidentally stayed in there for Miss May I as well, because I didn't realize Vended had finished. So to start off though, I did have a pretty expensive ticket. I think I got like the third rated highest one, so I was able to stay in the VIP section if I wanted to. But I didn't. I wanted to be with the Rebel. The only reason I got the VIP bit was so I could get into the museum, and when it came to dinner time, I wasn't having to fight tooth and nail for a spot for a table. I decided that I was going to wear this mask, as you can also probably see on screen as well. This is it here. It's made out of Hessian glue used from a glue gun and paint. It doesn't smell like paint despite the fact I painted it with all acrylic. Now this photo that I've got here actually ended up on the main page of Knotfest for the morning, like promoting it, getting people to like still come in, which I'm absolutely stoked about. That is just like the first good thing that happened that day. The second thing was, well, as you can see here, I got to meet Corey Taylor. It was a pretty wild experience. Out of 35 something thousand people that were there was only 75 to 100 of us that got given the chance to meet him. We didn't get very long. It was somewhere between like 2.5, 3 minutes we got with him. We weren't allowed to take photos with him, but I was given the chance to get an autograph, which I did. I took that, and that's being framed, definitely. I got the big poster from Knotfest as well, which that's being framed, so I'm going to try and get it custom done so they can both sit in the same one sort of thing. It was really cool meeting him. Super. I've heard things about he's got LSD, which I mean, because I only met him for 3 minutes, you couldn't really tell. I think I nearly died when I realized what was about to happen before when I was getting in line. But no, he liked the mask. He's like, killer, love it, dude. He said, but it can only go up from there. It's like it's the same one. And it's like, what's really the point? And it's like, yes, evolution. I like it. That's what you're on about. I mentioned to him I want a Jim Root Sandblaster guitar. I said, any chance is there? And he said, everyone wants it, but it's a one of a kind. You can get the Jazzmaster, you can't get the red and you can't get the red and black one. That's one of one for him. Wanted him to have fun up on stage as any entertainer, not just a musician, should. Which I hope he appreciated that. And I mentioned to him like an older piece of music, not too old, but it's like 10 plus years old now. Something he did at a place called Sound City with Dave Grohl, called From Can to Can. I said, yeah, well, it's not quite Stone Sour, but it's very got that. It's a grunge opera. And he's like, man, that's really. I was like, he's like, that's ancient though. And I said, yeah, but it's like, as much as I like all your other stuff like Stone Sour and Slipknot, that was actually quite surprising when I heard that put that one out. It's like, oh, that's cool. It's an obscure one, but at least someone knows it. Okay, so to give some context of, I don't know all these bands. Absolutely not. I had never heard of Enter Shikari. I'd never even heard of Miss May I, Health, or the whatever that first one is there. I hadn't heard of them before. So the ones I was really interested in watching was Vended, Hatebreed, Slaughter, Polaris, and Slipknot. I would like to preface before I start explaining anything in the way I know how to do it. I'm not a professional. This is just my opinion. As much as I joke, it's like I'm a professional. I'm really not. This is just my opinion. I can play music to a certain extent. I can read music to a certain extent. I can EQ to a very minimal extent. That is it. So take this with a fucking grain of salt, like it should be. This is just the opinion of some idiot who never shuts up on the internet. That being said, if you don't agree with me, you're wrong and you can go away. I'm kidding! I'm kidding! don't just chill, chill. It's just a joke. I'm in a joking mood today. Vended blew me out of the water. I was extremely impressed with their performance. Not to mention, I had heard quite a bit of their stuff already, such as Nihilism, Dead to Me. What was another one? I think it was Serenity as well. I at least knew those three. They performed those killer. Like the guy sounds like his dad. And I'm not joking when I say he looks like his dad when his dad was in his 20s. It's crazy, right? Doesn't even look like, oh, it's his son. It looks like Corey Taylor has just gone to the planet Camino and shit out a clone copy. It was great. They sounded exactly the same live as I did in the studio. This has been their big first international outing. I'm really excited to see what they have in the future, whether they split up or whether they stay together. But these guys definitely have a future in the entertainment industry. Just the way they're put together in like such a not a short amount of time, but for their like for having their first international tour, I would say these guys are really up to scratch. They've got a long way to go career wise. Super heavy. See, that's like the bad thing. I don't want to say, oh, it sounds exactly like Slipknot. The fact that he's there, yeah, it makes it sound like that. One thing I do notice, he doesn't always harmonize. He you get a lot of metal groups that will harmonize in the chorus. They sound really good. He does as well. He doesn't necessarily do that with all the songs they were singing, which is I like that. Just actually goes back to the roots of metal per se, just screaming through the whole thing. I didn't mind that, but it was a different change of speed for Vended to just be heavy chugging fast the entire time. It was just super intense. Burn yourself straight through that is fantastic. I can't recommend them highly enough. In Heart's Wake, haven't really listened to much of them. I'm aware of them. Don't get me wrong, completely aware of them. The one song that I recognized from them was "Son of a Witch," which, haha, funny. Which witch? Yeah, I can't say too many bad things about them because I've never heard them. It was clean. It was fast. I did like the fact with the sound coming out, it wasn't necessarily just super heavy chugging. It was they did allow for some delays on there with their effects. Drums were super popping as well. Not pop. When I say it wasn't popish, when I say popping, it was really noticeable when you want it to be noticeable. So I reckon they mic'd up the drums to absolute fucking perfection there. Within Temptation, now I wasn't even sure that these guys were playing. Not even that. I didn't even know these guys were playing. For some reason, that bit I just completely forgot about. And I heard the song Faster. I was like, oh, whoever's doing this must be doing a cover. Fuck, it's really good. It sounds a lot like the artist. And then I actually turned towards the stage because I was at a stall at the time. I was like, oh, holy shit, it actually is the artist. So I didn't even realize that they were playing, which they were great. Like as I said, Faster was playing. All I Need, We Go to War. They played that one. It was very go. I can't remember which one sounded very different on stage. In the studio, it sounded very synthy and very. I don't want to say produced, but it didn't. It sounded better live because they had all the guitars. It was very. The guitars. I don't want to say it was. I keep saying it was clean. It was bright. It had a very bright sound to it, but at the same time, like when you're playing something fast, it doesn't really matter if it's bright, especially with all the tones they have set and all the pedals they've got going on behind the scenes. You can have something that sounds bright, but also it's very metal as well. And I can't remember. I really wish I could remember what song it was. Might have been actually two, but they had a very bright tone with one of them. And I was like, wow, that's actually really good in comparison. Would highly recommend Within Temptation as well. Not just because, oh, they've got a girl in it, so it might be easy to get in. They're a solid group. They've been around for a while as well. Polaris, I thought it was actually going to be better. I don't have too much to say on it because I'm a little bit disappointed. It didn't sound tinny. It just felt like the sound was, in comparison to what I've heard, was not quite It wasn't whole. It's really weird trying to explain this. I've been sitting here for a while just figuring out how to word this. It just didn't sound whole to me. The only one that I liked was Nightmare, but Nightmare sounds good if someone who doesn't know what the hell they're doing on guitar sound like is playing it as well. So Baby Metal, you have Baby Metal here. I have never been able to get into them. I understand that they're metal. Do not get me wrong. I can clearly tell they're a metal group. I just don't appreciate the fact that every time I listen to them, I feel like I'm watching or listening to an intro song to Naruto. It feels like I'm literally a ninja running with the shinobi in the treetops in the Shinobi Wars. It doesn't interest me that much. The guitars they merge into each other in my opinion. They're very. Do not get me wrong. They're very talented. The guys that are on the instruments very talented. The drums, I don't think that there are many people at that whole event that could keep pace with the pace of whoever's. I know they're only session drummers, so there's not really permanent members of the band. It The way that this guy was drumming, there is not many people that would be able to keep up with him. I think in today's metal scene in regards to playing like that every single show. I From what I've seen, especially at the Brisbane one that happened recently, he played exactly the same verbatim. There was no switch ups and everything. This guy was, whoever he was, is fucking insane. And I'm sure I'm saying that because I don't know how to play drums at all. I'm not a drummer. I'm not a drum. I played instruments before. I still play instruments, but this dude was insane. The guitars sometimes sounded like they were harmonizing too much, in the fact of they might have been playing in a different octave, but the fact that it was the same key, different octave, just made them go. It sounded great at the time, but looking back, it's more of a mate. Yes, playing the same key definitely, but maybe one guitar instead of going, I don't know, you're playing up the scale, play to the middle and then back down or deviate for some reason. Play. I don't fucking know. I don't know music theory well enough, especially for guitar. It's I just can't do it. I highly recommend people listen to them to if you're into metal or getting into metal to see if there's hey you want to listen to other subgenres in it, because this is definitely the gateway of if I like this, maybe I'll like different genres in metal other than listening to just classic heavy metal or new metal. Thought to Prevail are a deathcore band, I believe, out of Europe? Yes, I think they're a European band. They're great. I can't speak highly enough about them. I've listened to a couple of their songs before. Ones that comes off my top of my head: Demolisher, Bone Breaker, Hell, Chronic Slaughter, 666. I can't speak highly enough of this group. They are absolutely fantastic. They sounded fantastic live as well. Great fullness sounding to both the drums and the guitars as well. You can't really say that they have to slow down when the dude's singing and he has to take a chill pill, because the whole point of deathcore is you're taking yourself to one of the most intense spots in, like, when you're doing death metal, black metal, not necessarily black metal, but it's like when you're doing death metal or deathcore, you are having to take yourself into the most intense spot and hold it there in order to be able to project the message you're trying to get across. That's as far as I'm aware of what deathcore is, but super good band. Recommend that entirely. This is like one of the vanilla bands you should be listening to when you're getting into it. Day to Remember. I hadn't listened to these guys before going to Knotfest. I had listened to The Downfall of Us. I think that's one of the only songs I heard, but I was pleasantly surprised when they finally like started pumping songs. Of course, I think that was like the first song they played was "The Downfall of Us." Another one was "I'm Made of Wax." What are you made of? I can't remember the dude's name in it. LeBron was interesting. They didn't make people. So people were crowd surfing. They wanted us to do something called crowd surfing on crowd surfing, which is someone's laying on their back, someone stands on them and surfs at the front of the crowd, which was fucking awesome. All points port, all signs point to Lauderdale. That was a banging song as well. Now, the one that sticks in my head was If It Means That Much to You. That was a very slow piece. I believe it was written about being on the road and not being able to come home for really long periods of time. I mean, obviously, people have struggles with that, or even just like going to a job that you know you don't want to do. You'd rather be at home with the family or friends, but you just have to go out and do it to whatever. In this case, make money, put food on the table, performing on the road at months at a time. Really sweet, really clean guitar sounding there. There was no band playing except the lead singer with his guitar until right at the end when everything comes crashing in. So it was a really nice, slow. I would call it like a metal love letter ballad that really just woof, right at the end just really comes into it. It was a beautiful song. I cannot recommend If It Means That Much to You enough, people. I've said it like to 3 or 4 people. Go and listen to this song. And then, of course, there's Slipknot. Slipknot is, everyone knows what Slipknot is. Even if you're not a fan, they were huge in the new metal when new metal was a thing. They're still a huge thing now. What the fuck am I saying? Why am I even explaining this to you? I've already made a video about how much I love these guys, but especially because I made that video about their masks. I was a bit disappointed that I didn't get to see that West German mask in person. Clown wasn't there. I will say with Slipknot, the one thing that I preferred the 2023 performance of theirs to this one is that one was very chaotic. It was very good. You had people fucking jumping all over the place, climbing on the scaffolding that was on stage. This one, they were all very concentrated, not a whole lot of dancing around and shit, not a lot of moving around, especially with the percussionist, the Tortilla Man. Corey was not moving around a whole lot. Even Sid was just up at the desk. He wasn't really moving around too lot. He came down a couple times. Wasn't really that moving around, which was interesting because that is the most unSlipknot thing I've ever seen them do. I think their sound, I think they're at the peak of what you can do with sound in metal. I don't think there is a band that sounds better than them, considering they've been doing this for 20 odd years. Some people might say, "Oh, I mean, well, there's this and that." There are other bands that are exceptionally good. Don't get me wrong. These guys have been doing it for that long. They know what is going to sound good or what is going to sound bad before they do it in a live setting. I'm not speaking studio. The end so far was very questionable in my opinion, but in a live setting, like playing all their songs, such as like they played "The Devil and I," "Psychosocial," "Sick," 555, 666, "Duality." They played "The Killing Name." They've never fucking done that before. They said they were never gonna play that. Gematria, they played that, which was insane to hear that live. It's so cool for like us to be the first ones to ever hear it, them ever performing. They played something that I think they had written pre-Slipknot for the first album. I'm not sure if it was. I think it might have been on the first album, but it's a very old song that there was a lot of the crowd was like, "What the fuck? We haven't heard this ever before or in a really long time." You know, Jim Root and Mick Thompson are always an absolute masterclass to listen to. Doesn't matter how fuzzy the guitar tone is. If they hit a wrong chord, who gives a fuck? Because they're part of one of the biggest metal groups of all time. I will say, in regards to that, I wish the two would sometimes. They will bend when they don't need to. They will do a bend or they will do a slide up and down. Yeah, in theory it sounds good in the studio when everything's super clean, but when you're out on stage it doesn't always sound great. Just sometimes I wish they would not do that. I think it was in Psychosocial, the guitar solo. They've done it a couple times now. It's like, guys, just don't bend it so far. Like, you're trying to bend it. It sounds really weird me saying this because I can't bend for shit. But what it sounded like is they were trying to do like a full bend, and they would go for they'll do like a step and a half. Is that how it sounds? And I'm just like tone deaf when it comes to listening to this. I probably am, but again, it's just my opinion. It's like sometimes the bends are just a bit too far. Leroy did fucking amazing on drums. He couldn't even, if all the players there, they sound exactly like Joey, and I don't mean that to disrespect of, oh, like Jay was shit and Leroy is shit. If they're sounding like Joey, it's for a good fucking reason, because like there's a certain, not sound, there's a certain style that drummers have. But yeah, he sounds killer, the dude behind drums. I can't wait to see if they're going to put any music out, because I want to see what he brings to the table with it. So yeah, that has been my Knotfest in Melbourne for 2025. Really enjoyed it. As again, I will say, 10 hours in Nirvana is pretty fucking good, especially as a late birthday present. Had such a fun time. So if you did enjoy this video of me rambling on like an idiot for probably, what, 30 minutes, please do hit that like button. Don't forget to leave a comment. Hit the subscribe button if you want to see any more of my content. And I will see you in the next video. See ya!